What's up, YouTube? We are back with another video. This time we're going to be redoing our original WARBOND video where we discuss the pros and cons of every WARBOND and also kind of rank them in buy order to some extent. To start off, we're going to go through every single WARBOND, pros and cons, talking about like how things have changed, because a lot of WARBONDs, as we like to say in this community, they tend to age like fine wine, right? They will slowly get better over time as the developers hear feedback on what the players want and don't want, and so on and so forth. So it just works out really good in our favor. You could also use this as somewhat of like a buyer's guide of like stuff that tends to be near the top is more worth your hard-earned super credits, and stuff near the bottom is probably something that maybe you should wait like more. But do keep in mind before I start at this, if you find something that really sticks to your play style, or you like love the idea of just messing with that element of the WARBOND, go for it. Ignore what I'm about to say, right? Don't take this as like you need to follow my advice. Find the stuff that is really fun to you or exciting to you and go for that. So starting off with our WARBONDs, we have the Helldivers Mobilize. You get this one free with every Helldiver that starts off. A lot of great weapons to start off that just have done immediately really well in the long term. Like Punisher, fantastic for just like knocking back enemies and just being an overall great weapon for like the early game. And with the new attachment upgrades, you know, you get the choke. It's fantastic. Frag grenades, less so, not that much destruction damage, so you're gonna find like it doesn't destroy like illuminant like Tesla towers and stuff, which sucks, but you get an extra one, so it's good for like, you know, starting off as a bug diver, starting off with like stealth armor. Stealth armor is incredibly good in the early game for avoiding combat when you're not very you know, used to the game, so never wrong. Now, this is where you start with your first explosive resistant armor. Great for bots, highly recommend. Redeemer, not particularly great. It's definitely fallen in favor over time. It's one of the few weapons that has done that. Diligence, solid DMR. Can't really go wrong, especially if you can hit your weak spots. Defender, not feeling amazing, but okay. Hellpod, space optimization, probably the best overall booster in the game for the vast majority of players. You spawn in with full ammo, can never go wrong with it. Engineer kit, pretty good if you like throwing those grenades. Best early game armor, I think, overall, aside from like avoiding combat with the scout armor. Bone Snapper, highly recommend. The Breaker, normal Breaker, now can kind of turn into like a better spray and pray because you can put a massive drum mag on it. Highly recommend revisiting this. Put like the choke on it and you put the drum mag. Feels awesome. Also, don't sleep on short mags. Really nice if you're only doing short bursts. Vitality enhancement, basically just giving you more damage resistance. Fantastic. Highly recommend. Scythe, got a lot better with the attachments, longer fire time, impacts, good solid early game, lots of pen, the immediacy of like being impact. Awesome. We have our first Democracy Protects, giving you the 50% chance to survive. Really niche, but a lot of people tend to like it for like, you know, Hellpod game or Hellbomb gameplay. The Hellbomb backpack later on in the game. Liberator Penetrator, solid early game AR. People definitely flock to it because it's medium pen, just very easy to use. Good attachments with the drum mag. Highly recommend. You don't need medium pen. When you get better at the game and you figure out where to shoot and where not to shoot, you will start to see that light pen becomes way more useful because it typically has higher damage per second and more damage per shot or something like that. But medium pen tends to be maybe slower fire rate, a little bit less damage, but you gain the penetration benefit. So it's got its pros and cons. But for early game, medium pen, when you don't really know where you're shooting, medium pen feels really nice. UAV recovery booster, don't really recommend. It's okay. You got the Diligence counter sniper, fantastic DMR. The handling does feel like you're holding a boat, but it feels really good on bots in particular. For Illuminant, it feels really good for like taking out the harvesters on their arm or taking out the heads of the overseers. Really nice for that. But other than that, you might prefer using the regular Diligence because of the better ergonomics in the early game. Stamina enhancement, fantastic, amazing booster. Highly recommend. Another scout armor, can never say no. Another scout armor, can never say no. Smoke grenades, I'd probably avoid those unless you're playing for a particular type of gameplay. But even then, not that good. Needs more smoke. Slugger, this one's had a bit of a roller coaster over time, but I'd say overall it's in a good spot now. Not a great spot, but a good spot. Does one shot overseers, does really good against brood commanders. Just remember to keep reloading on bugs. It has a very sizable magazine of 16, so as long as you're doing the round reloads of like pretty consistently, you can use it quite a bit. Medium pen, good damage, good durable damage, solid overall. Definitely would want to use that in closer ranges rather than like longer ranges because the damage drop off on this is quite severe. Keep that in mind. Spray and pray, not a huge fan of it. I think the regular breaker with upgrades tends to just be better than the spray and pray overall. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys agree, but yeah. Another medium medic, very similar to the one before, just a different style. Muscle enhancement, fantastic for those like blizzards and like sandstorm maps, really good. And then we got another Democracy Protects, but with a different color, and the Scorcher, great weapon for the early game. Ammo economy, not awesome, but everything else it shines in. Explosive damage, medium pen, very easy to use, great fire rate, good damage per second. You can even take out Bile Titans very fast by just shooting at their stomachs or chargers' butts, like one magazine to a charger's butt will take out that butt and then they'll bleed out like less than 10 seconds later. Really strong. Increased reinforcement budget, it's okay. Not exactly great. I don't really recommend planning for failure in that regard. Helldivers Mobilize, just for the fun of it, I think is like easily like an A tier. It's just got a lot of like basic stuff in it that like is good for like a beginner Helldiver, but I don't know. I like it. I like it. It's a good warbond. I don't typically use too much from it in the late game, but as far as starting off, like obviously it's really good. Okay, next we have Steeled Veterans. You get a very good CC weapon for knocking back enemies, not so much stunning, but like knocking enemies and concussing them backwards. It mostly works on like medium tier enemies up to like a Brood Commander or like a Spewer, but not really a Charger level enemy. 60 round magazine by default, but obviously you have so many attachments on it as well. If you feel like you want better ergonomics, drop the magazine, but let's be honest, ARs plus big magazine, good. Senator, fantastic look for this weapon over time. It's taking out Hulks now, pen 4. You could technically kill a Bile Titan with it if you spent enough time. Very nice for that cowboy. Hold down the reload button. You do a little cool animation with it. Nice little Easter egg. Highly recommend for the bot front especially. The overall armor theme for this one is servo assisted. You get to throw 30% farther and you get 50% more limb health. Limb health is kind of extra HP for your Helldiver, but also means you won't break your limbs nearly as often. Overall, good perk, but not always the most ideal. My problem with it is that when you start using this perk for a while and then swap away from it, your muscle memory and your visual like memory of how far a stratagem goes really goes down the toilet. It's kind of annoying when you're swapping back and forth. They recently increased the duration of fire on the ground for fire nades, which is nice, but status effects right now are a little bit weird. Hopefully by the time you're looking at this video in like a month's time, they've addressed this and fire is more reliably being put on enemies, but just keep that in mind for like the immediate future. They're a little bit weird, but I do like that they are increasing the fire time on the ground. That's good. So good overall. Grenade, it does destroy bug holes, which is awesome. And it does destroy Tesla towers, which the frag grenade from the other warbond does not. Cinder Breaker, fantastic. Highly recommend. I like putting the full choke and the short mags on this and just doing like short burst fires to light enemies on fire. I would highly recommend not like full auto spamming this thing because you're going to go through your rounds really fast. Use it as a weapon to light enemies on fire and only mag them when you need to in like extreme close range. This flexible reinforcement budget, fantastic at times. Now, this is another one of those ones that you plan for failure with, but if you find you're constantly running out of reinforcements and you just like need that next reinforcement and you're all out, it does work pretty well for those longer missions where you're just like out of revives. It does knock off a sizable amount of time. Now, once again, I would probably just knock down the difficulty and take a better booster and then just get better at it. But honestly, a fairly good one for that because it reduces it by a sizable amount. Jarred 5 Dominator, overall, one of the best weapons in the game if used correctly. Hits like a truck, tons of durable damage, good knockback, good CC. It's great on every faction, bugs, bots, and Illuminate. It's probably its weakest faction is bugs just because it's got quite a bit of ergonomic problem with it, but you can kind of maintain better ergonomics by like taking off the scope and taking off the laser sight. You can get actually a sizable boost with those kind of attachments to the point where you don't really feel like it's that bad for bugs. So I highly recommend giving it a try. Steel Veterans is absolutely A+. I'm not quite putting it higher because I feel like the armor is nothing too crazy and you can't just like get it elsewhere. And the booster is not particularly amazing either, but the weapons in it, Dominator and you get the Senator, are like two particular weapons that I like highly recommend. And they're really good against a lot of different factions. So it kind of sells the Warbond for me. And the Liberated Concussive is nothing to sleep on. I think a lot of people kind of devalue because it's just CC, but it's CC with a big ass magazine and it will keep enemies away from you, which is really cool. On to the next, we have Cutting Edge, absolutely solid Warbond. I do feel a little bit bad for the sickle, but it's only 55 damage versus other assault rifles that are typically around 80 with light pen. It's starting to feel its age. It's one of the few weapons that went from absolutely being like top of the meta, best AR in the game for a long time to slowly starting to feel its age. I am hoping that in the future it gets a little bit better, but it's still like a solid AR because it has the unlimited ammo aspect and a good fire rate and good magazine size because essentially it has like an 80 round magazine because of how long it takes to heat up, which is good. The localized confusion is fantastic. fantastic for the early game and newer players. What this does is it increases the time in between bug breaches and bot drops. If you feel like your team is constantly getting bug breach, deal with all the ads coming out of that bug breach, and then you get another bug breach immediately afterwards. That kind of tells me that the time between, you're not being very efficient and you need to get better at the game. But what this will do is it'll help you in those situations because you get an extra minute or so. I think it's 45 seconds to a minute before the next bug breach spawns. For advanced players later in the game that are more efficient at dealing with bug breaches, probably won't find much value in something like this. But for the early game, this is really useful if you just feel like you're overwhelmed by bug breaches constantly. The damage resistance on this weapon, or like the armor passive, is reduction to arc damage, which is very useful for like teammates who are bringing arc throwers, like your damage resistance to them so they don't kill you in one shot, or like people that are bringing the guard dog or the Illuminant enemy faction in general, or their Tesla towers. It is fairly nice, but it's definitely very niche. And, you know, I only really am for use it if my entire team is using arc and I just want to like keep it with the theme and just reduce a lot of damage, which is really nice. Stun grenades are on the bottom end of the grenades at the moment. We just genuinely have better CC grenades, or even the new arc grenade tends to just be a better stun grenade because it bounces quite a few times. We'll get into it later, but I would recommend that one over it. Plasma Punisher, probably on the weaker side of weapons at the moment. I'm leveling it up currently to 25 and I've just not been enjoying it. It's another one of those weapons like the sickle that has kind of just like fallen in favor over time because they've been buffing all these other weapons up and they've been kind of forgetting about these weapons that originally were on the higher end of the scale. So it is what it is. Dagger has maintained and honestly has improved a lot. The status effect problem is affecting it. It does take some time to light enemies on fire, but it is what it is. But I do recommend it for like light enemies and just like dealing with like shriekers and stuff. It's really good. Blitzer, fantastic weapon, super easy to use. Highly recommend for a player that doesn't want to aim and just wants to do damage on like bugs and Illuminate. Don't really recommend it for bots just because it's lacking that range, but it's still good. Cutting Edge, although it's starting to feel its age, I still think it is a good warbond to pick up, especially for like the Blitzer and the armor if you're running with a lot of arc damage or against a lot of arc damage like from teammates or around Illuminate. Solid warbond, highly recommend. Into Democratic Detonation, easily by far the best overall warbond for probably two main reasons. It's mostly for the thermite, because the thermite allows you to stop bringing AT in other aspects of your build and just lean into thermites to take out that charger or that ball titan or that Hulk or that tank. And the second one would be the eruptor or the crossbow. Both of these and grenade pistol are the only primary / secondaries that can deal with bug holes or fabricators in that tier of weapon. The crossbow and the eruptor in many respects kind of rival a support weapon in your primary slot. If you can get good at distance and also just repositioning, these weapons are easily some of the best weapons in the game as far as just power and just sheer efficiency of how good they are killing many enemies with like one particular magazine's worth, one full supply. The armor that you get is your grenades, which is fairly decent. You get the adjudicator, which is, it's like a different flavor of the liberator penetrator. You don't necessarily need to use the adjudicator. It's not necessarily better or worse. It's just a different flavor. You may like it, you may not. Didn't get a magazine increase, unfortunately, with the customization update, but maybe it will in the future. So some people tend to just prefer the liberator penetrator because of the larger magazine, which is totally fair. And then, like I said earlier, grenade pistol, fantastic. It's just if you want to take another primary, but you still want to have that ability to take out bug holes, grenade pistol is fantastic for that. Democratic Detonation, I'm just going to put that up there because it's so obvious that it's the best warbond as far as power, utility, just amazing value for your super credit. Oh, so good. Not much more has to be said. Highly, 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 highly recommend. Polar Patriots, kind of a in the middle warbond. The armor is not particularly interesting at all. It looks maybe interesting, but it doesn't have any like interesting perks on it. It's mostly just a combination of perks that we've already had in previous warbonds. They just look different. Motivational Shocks is an okay booster. Basically just reduces the time in which you're stunned, but I believe there still is this bug in the game where it actually affects the enemies, so they don't actually last stunned as long. So just a heads up on that one. I'm pretty sure that's still bugged. Tenderizer, fantastic AR overall. It's basically just a heavier hitting primary light pen weapon, but it has a smaller magazine than the normal Liberator. That's kind of the trade-off to it, but it feels really easy to use, which is really cool, and it does do more damage. Pummeler is just the defender, but mixed with a little bit of cussive. The Pummeler, good, but I would rather use like the pacifier personally or the Liberator cussive. I find that the Pummeler just doesn't tend to fit in my repertoire. It's like, I don't know. I like that it got a larger magazine and stuff like that with the customization update. I just don't find myself liking it nearly as much as the alternatives. The Incendiary Impact, basically just the same as the other one, but no fuse. It's impact now, and it does less base damage when it explodes, but it still does the same fire effect afterwards. Just a different flavor. You may like it, you may not. Purifier, one of the better weapons in the game, like top 5 easily. It rivals the crossbow. It's basically like a better killing weapon than the crossbow, but it doesn't have the utility of being able to blow up a bug breach, if that makes sense. You get a 15 round magazine. The explosions are very good, not as strong as a crossbow, but it ends up having very similar breakpoints to the crossbow. If you haven't tried it since they've changed it, highly recommend it. It actually also has a normal fire mode of just like left clicking, where it feels very much like a slightly nerfed Scorcher, better ammo economy than the Scorcher because of the charge shots, which are really strong. Verdict, solid all around medium pen pistol, very similar to the Peacemaker. I'd highly recommend it if you are interested in a medium pen primary of that type. Polar Patriots, very good WARBOND, mostly weapon wise. It's the weapons that really sell me on putting this so high. Some people might be like, what? But it's mostly like Purifier and the Tenderizer are just so strong that it's hard for me not to want to put it high. The Pummeler is not a bad choice. It's middle of the road, but it also fits some people's like play styles in particular. But I'm mostly putting this here for the Tenderizer and the Purifier, two really good weapons. Fantastic AR and fantastic plasma explosive weapon. Highly, highly recommend. It's not like the armor is bad. It's just different flavors, and the booster is technically bugged. So I'm kind of talking myself out of putting an A, but I'm sticking with it. It's like A minus B plus, but I'm gonna stick with it. It is a good WARBOND for those particular weapons at least. Next we have Viper Commandos. An interesting WARBOND. It has some awesome armor, but you can just get the armor from the superstore. So just remember, with every single WARBOND that is bought here, there's always a corresponding superstore page that has the armor perk in one of them. So usually they do light, medium, heavy, and then one of the 3 will be in the superstore. It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes they double up. Looking at you, Siege Ready, unfortunately. But you know, you can just get the medium version of this armor that gives you better handling, which is really strong for certain weapons like HMG or AMR or autocannon, but you don't need to buy this WARBOND for it. So you can save a bunch of super credits if you don't want anything else from the WARBOND. So keep that in mind. Liberated Carbine has seen a big glow up with the attachments, being able to put a vertical foregrip, compensator, and the bigger magazine. It ends up feeling like a mini stalwart is what people say in the community. Definitely a very slept on secondary though is the Bushwhacker. It's really well paired with weapons that you kind of need to, let's say you bring a primary weapon like the crossbow, but it's very awkward when they get too close. Use the Bushwhacker to push them away and have that good close range secondary. Highly recommend when using it with the Eruptor or the crossbow. But a lot of people tend to not always favor this weapon just because of the range, and they'd rather bring a grenade pistol maybe. So keep that in mind. Experimental Infusion. It's a very good booster. A lot of people tend to pick it as the, other than the holy trinity of the Hell Pod optimization, vitality, and then stamina recovery, people tend to pick this as the last, but it depends on the planet. Some people tend to obviously pick muscle enhancement if it's a particular planet like that has like blizzards or sandstorms and stuff like that. So really good booster, but you don't need to have this WARBOND for it, right? A teammate could easily have it for you. So once again, not a WARBOND that you necessarily need. Throwing knife, it's a meme. That's all we're going to say. It's a meme. Viper Commandos is a little bit difficult for me to place. At first, you know, before the customization was added, it was like a C tier because you could just buy the armor from the superstore and like you'd be fine. But now that the Liberated Carbine is quite a bit better, and I think people in general are like valuing the Viper Commando more, like in terms of like the Bushwhacker and the Liberated Carbine, I do think it like bumps up to like a middle B. Just make sure you want those weapons and you need that booster. Like if you're the only person in your fire team that has it, but so many people have Viper Commando, you probably don't need to bring that booster personally. And if all you want is the armor, just go get it in the superstore. You'll save a bunch of super credits. Freedom Flame, definitely more of the bugs and illuminant version of WARBONDs, but you can definitely use it on bots. It's just higher risk, high reward because you need to get very close to the enemies to utilize some of the tactics that we're going to go into. Fire resistant armor is good. I always wish that it would be a higher percentage. 75% always felt like quite low. Do keep in mind that for fire resistance, your armor rating does matter for how much damage per second you take. So if you wear the medium armor, you will take less damage per second than the light. And if you buy the heavy armor from the superstore, you take even less damage. So just keep that in mind. I tend to not use light fire resistance because it doesn't have as big as an impact as you think it might. Cookout, probably the best overall noob friendly bug weapon in the game. It provides a lot of space for you because you're knocking back enemies. Fire resistance, even with the status effects being weird, is incredibly good, especially with the changes to larger enemies taking more fire fire damage over time. Really strong weapon. Highly recommend. Torture, honestly, I tend to use this over the stratagem version of it just because it's in your primary slot and you can just take a different stratagem. So you can almost have two stratagem weapons on at the same time. It does do less damage than the stratagem weapon, but it has better handling to compensate. Yeah, I really like the torture. I like pairing it with like gas oriented stuff with your build, or you bring like a quasar or maybe even like a recoilless for anti-tank, and then using this for ad clear. Retreat, light the ground on fire, retreat, light the ground on fire, light enemies on fire. It's very fun. Highly recommend. The Hell Pod fire bombs, they're okay. They're like mostly a meme just to annoy your teammates. I don't really recommend them, but it is what it is. Crisper, this one's been making its rounds over on Reddit. People are remembering that it actually has pen 5 because flame goes up to like pen 4 anti-heavy armor thing. So like this is why I say like with the torture and the crisper, you could walk up behind a tank and kill it incredibly fast, or walk underneath a factory strider and kill it relatively quite fast on the doors. But it's quite risky to do because you have to get very close. So that's why I tend to say, you know, maybe use it on Illuminate or on bugs. It tends to work a lot better on those factions. But good Warbond overall, especially if you like what you hear. Freedom Flame, another really good one. Mostly bugs and Illuminate, but with like the torture being so good and the crisper being so good and the cookout being absolutely insane, it's like absolutely A. The reason why I won't put it into S tier, mostly because like, you know, I'm changing my mind live. It is S tier. With the changes to fire damage even on bots is really good. 2 instances of fire actually kills Devastators now. So the cookout is actually even insane versus bots, which is like something I was about to miss. Highly recommend using the crisper and torture for like different factions. And if you want to risk it, it even works quite well versus bots. Chemical, you got gas grenade, probably one of the best grenades in general in the game other than thermite. You have the armor, which is 80% resistance to gas. The only one I'd really recommend is the heavy gas resistance armor, because if you stand in the gas with vitality on, with heavy armor, you literally take 0 damage. 0. So you can literally just live in the gas and then enemies will walk into it and then not be able to like melee you, which is kind of funny. Or if they do, they're like aimlessly kind of like swinging, so they might accidentally hit you. Sterilizer, I find that it's kind of underutilized though. It's very good for just like CC. You can walk into a nest and as long as you like spurt the gas at all the enemies, they literally won't touch you. It's kind of like feeling like you're invisible sometimes and they're slowly ticking to that. So if you tend to play like that dot heavy like build in different games, pairing this and the torture is actually a ton of fun. Highly recommend. But a lot of people tend to not bring the sterilizer because the guard dog breath exists. Very good for keeping enemies at bay. The targeting on it got way better than when it first came out. Highly recommend. It's a little bit weird right now with the status effect. So like some enemies like the scavengers and stuff won't be affected by gas. Quickly kill them so it will go on to another enemy, but hopefully that'll get addressed relatively soon. Stim pistol, very good for team play. It does get affected if you wear the medic armor. It buffs this, just a heads up on that. So it is quite nice. Just tell your teammates to stand still because sometimes the bullet travel time is not fast enough. It has a little bit of bloom on it, so you may miss a couple shots, but if you tell your teammates, hey, stand still, let me heal you, this is great for that. Chemical agents, I'm assuming they're gonna fix the status effects. I'm assuming that by the time you're gonna buy this Warbond, they've fixed it. And if so, it's a fantastic Warbond for the backpack, for the gas grenade, even the sterilizer, for the stim pistol, really strong. It is arguably top 5 easily for me. That gas guard dog will carry you through the early to mid game easily, especially against bugs. Very strong. It's in an awkward spot now because of the status effects, but it's a bug and they will fix it. We just don't know exactly when. True Divorcers, really strong Warbond in some respects, but I do think it's near the bottom overall. The Halt is really nice because it's a medium pen flechette oriented shotgun, and it has a EMS mode where you can swap between the two and you can stun. If you get very good at swapping between the two, I do think it's like a rather good weapon, but it's very clumsy to swap between the two. And there is some tech where you can like keybind it so it'll swap one to the right in your menus, and it's a whole big thing, and it will automatically swap back and forth with one key press rather than, you know, having to open it up and then move it. But it just overall doesn't feel very good because it will affect the rest of your weapons when you're pressing that button, which sucks. Dead Sprint, many people don't like this perk, but I actually do kind of like it. It is really nice for when you're wearing heavy armor because the damage of draining your health is affected by what your armor rating is and using vitality. Make sure you use it with heavy armor and vitality, and it actually doesn't drain your health very fast. It's quite nice for those situations where like you're on bugs and maybe you're wearing heavier armor or medium armor and you stam out, and when you stam out in this game, you don't stop sprinting, you just sprint a lot slower. This will keep you at full speed so you don't like randomly start sprinting slower when you're trying to avoid a charger. It can keep you alive in those situations. People don't always value it that way, unfortunately. Reprimand, probably the best overall SMG, and I'm doing the air quotes because it's not really an SMG, it's more of an AR. are with the SMG tag. It ends up feeling very similar to the Adjudicator with more punch per bullet, but less range overall. They did fix the accuracy, so it is very accurate. And with the attachments, you can kind of make it a laser beam with the vertical foregrip and the compensator. It feels really nice. I really like using this, but it's not really an SMG because it can't go one-handed. It's more of an assault rifle. It's kind of weird. The armor on this one has been buffed. It used to be just the unflinching component, which was pretty lame, but now it's like half of what extra padded is, where it gives you 25 more armor rating. If you're on light, it's 75. If you're on medium, it's 125, but it also gives you unflinching. It doesn't stop you from getting like flinched backwards, but it stops your aiming from being affected when you get aim punched. So when you're using laser cannon, when you're shooting it, yeah, you might get knocked back a little bit because you're getting flinched, but your aim will be rock steady. And the last part is also the marker. So when you marker the map, a ping happens. So if you're bad at finding like side objectives, it's actually a really good perk to use to find them, because you can just ping around the map every 2 seconds and it does that ping. So you can maybe locate it and get better at finding them. Last one is the Loyalist. I find the Loyalist to be an okay sidearm. Personally, it doesn't really fit into the archetype of sidearm that I'm looking for, which is usually like something quick to swap to, or it has a lot of utility. This is a sidearm that you want to more preemptively pull out and then charge, because if you don't charge it, it doesn't feel very good at all. But when you start charging it and you put some emphasis into it, it feels a lot better, which is cool. I appreciate that. Overall, decent WARBOND. Truth Enforcers. I don't think necessarily Truth Enforcers is like bad, but there's very little going for it. It's mostly just the Reprimand as far as like a top tier pick. The rest of the WARBOND is not particularly something to call home about. Dead Sprint people don't really love. The armor people are like warming up to because they have improved it quite a bit. The Halt is like very niche, and the Loyalist is very niche. Obviously has fantastic drip and it looks amazing, but overall, like for your dollar per WARBOND, or for your like WARBOND SC for like your pick, I don't really recommend it that much. Urban Legends, definitely one of the better ones we have, mostly because of this armor perk. Fantastic. Pairs with so many different weapons. So your primary weapons get 30% faster reload, which is really good and pairs really well with a lot of WARBOND weapons that have slower like reload speeds. Also, all weapons like primary, secondary, and support weapons that don't have a backpack gain 20% more ammo. So for those weapons like the Scorcher, for instance, really good for that. Grenade launcher doesn't have enough magazines in reserve, really good for that. So really universal and probably overall one of the better armor perks in the game, other than maybe Medic. But even then, if you feel like you're not diving that often, you don't need that many stims, Street Scout and Siege Ready is fantastic. Stun Lance. Melee in general is more of a meme or just like to take out smaller bugs. They've recently fixed melee going through heavy armor on a charger, or going through heavy armor in general. Basically, like the hitbox of the melee was just going through and hitting the squishy bits underneath. Now it kind of deflects. Now it's like the proper light armor pen that it's supposed to be, quote unquote. We'll see if they ever revert that, but at the moment it's not doing what it used to, where you could like 5 hit a charger. So we'll see. I know there's a lot of discourse back and forth on this, but melee weapons are definitely more for like voteless scavengers, maybe the occasional hunter. You don't want to be exchanging damage, so the stun weapons tend to be the better melee weapons in this game. So that's nice. Directional shield, just a different flavor of the energy shield backpack that you can buy in the normal vendor on your ship. It's really nice because you can actually prone with it and like fully block bullets with your body. It does recharge, but it is only for one-handed weapons. So you definitely have to be like leaning on your sidearms or your one-handed primaries like your SMGs. We get the Flame Sentry. They recently buffed it, reducing the cooldown by, I think it was like 30 seconds. And then also they now, I think it like blows up for more damage. I think was the second part. I'm sure someone will tell me down below. It does feel better, but it still has the problem of the enemies just kind of overwhelm it and then it dies really fast. I do wish it had some amount of CC or greater range. That would be nice, but it doesn't. Arms resupply pods, kind of cool. Nice for defense missions, but I don't really recommend it all that much. You get the heavy variant of Siege Ready, which is cool for bots. And then star of the show, anti-tank replacement is so good on every single faction. Amazing for bots because you can snipe those factory strider convoys from across the map. You can strap fabricators and like large factory striders. On bugs, you can take out bile titans and chargers before they're even an ounce of difficulty to them. You can just nail them, put it kind of farther back from a bug breach. Teammates are dealing with the small chaff in front of you. You're nailing all the bigger guys. With Leviathans on Illuminate, this thing is the arch nemesis to it because they only have around 150, 200 meters of range now. You can easily easily outrange them and take them out. Highly recommend it. Another S tier one for me would be Urban Legends. If they keep continuing to like buff up the Flame Sentry, I think this will be even more so, but it's got fantastic armor in it. It's got the anti-tank emplacement, which is honestly so good. It's like so meta. It's like hurts. It's just amazing. It's a really good warbond. In that regard, you get one of the better melee weapons in the game, which is the Lance. I would argue it's probably like the best, just because tons of reach and it stuns. The Flame Stratagem will probably get better over time, but it's like decent. So I do think it deserves to be an S tier. Servants of Freedom, kind of a quirky one. Double-edged sickle, one of the best weapons in the game if you build around it. They currently reverted some of the changes they originally made to it, somewhat unintentionally. If you wear fire resistance of any tier and you wear vitality perk, this doesn't do any damage to you until you completely overheat and you're on fire. But even then, if you prone, you're constantly like stopping yourself from being on fire. So it actually doesn't do that much damage. Really fun if you bring the supply backpack, fire resistant armor, vitality perk. This thing turns into a support weapon. It's really cool. The martyr, when you blow up, basically turn into a grenade. They recently gave it +2 grenade, which is pretty cool. It's a better armor perk, but it's not particularly that nice. Ultimatum, still absolutely like a stratagem in your pocket. It's kind of like an orbital precision. You can still one-shot ball titans if you hit them in the head. You can one-shot chargers, one-shot hulks, you can one-shot tanks. I believe it's 2 shots to a factory strider's head. Very strong overall, taking out bug breaches, ad clearing. It used to do more damage on the impact, but they've recently changed it to be more AoE oriented rather than impact oriented, which is good. It makes it a lot easier to use because you can now miss and hit the ground next to an enemy and potentially still kill them. Secret grenades, not that good. I don't recommend it. It lies to you. A lot of times it'll blow up and kill one enemy, but it might say ×4. It's not actually killing 4 enemies. There's like YouTube clips and stuff like that of people getting 100 kill streaks and stuff like that. They're not killing that many enemies. They're maybe killing 10 enemies and it says 50, 75, 100. So just keep that in mind. Portable Hell Bomb. Now that they kind of nerfed the ultimatum from like destroying jammers and stuff like that, you're seeing a lot more Portable Hell Bomb usage, and I kind of like that. Portable Hell Bomb, very fun. Taking out orbital cannon objectives, taking out jammers, so you don't actually have to interact with the console. Just really good for bug breaches in general. It does also lie to you for the amount of kills, but it genuinely is very good at taking out large amounts of armored enemies or small enemies in one go. Highly recommend. The sheer utility of Servants of Freedom keeps it quite high for me. It just has so much utility, great weapons. The armor is kind of lackluster, but it is what it is. But just like the Hellbound backpack, very useful on a lot of fronts, very fun. The D sickle, if you invest in it, really strong. Highly recommend. And the ultimatum is extremely powerful as well. Highly recommend that Warbond, very fun. Masters of Ceremony. It's had a rocky history. A lot of people absolutely hated the trailer when it first came out, but we were kind of pleasantly surprised when it actually came to the weapon. Personally, it's one of my favorite weapons as far as feel, but also statistics in general. They recently gave it more ergonomics, but it's got the bayonet, which is actually very useful for like saving ammo. It's got good light pen damage. It's got 200, but also it has the same durable damage as the counter sniper. So if you know where to shoot, this thing rips enemies apart. And it's got a really fast fire rate if you have a fast trigger finger in semi-auto. If you shoot the chest of a overseer, you can drop them within like 5 shots. It's really good for that. For bots, obviously you guys shoot at the eye, but it does drop them very easily. With the ergonomic buffs, you can put a bigger scope on it without actually affecting the ergonomics. I really like this thing. It's definitely niche, but I really like using it if you got some decent aim. Honorary Guard started off as probably the worst armor in the game, but it's a lot better now. You got the reload speed of Siege Ready. You get the 50% chance to not break a limb, which is a lot better now that bleeding actually does a ton of damage to you. And you get 50% more melee damage to kind of pair with if you're more of a melee oriented person, or if you're just like meleeing the random bugs or parrying the bugs as they jump at you. That works really well with it. Saber, it's a meme, but hey, it's there. And you get the Pyrotechnic Grenade, which a lot of people were shitting on when it first came out, but it's actually a lot better than we thought. 50 damage is the explosion afterwards, but it does this like damage over time for the sparkler that's actually really high penetration. So it actually ends up being a little bit of an anti-tank grenade if you can throw it at particular weak points of enemies that are weak in those particular areas. That might be like pen 4 or so. So it can take out tanks from behind. You can take out hulks if you throw them near their legs. You can take out factory striders. They recently buffed the feet of factory striders. So you used to be able to throw like 2 of these and kill a factory strider. It now takes more. But another great thing about the Pyrotechnic Grenade is you get 5 of them. They can kill bug breaches and fabricators. Really nice grenade overall. It's got some anti-tank. It's got some anti-infantry because when it blows up, it lights the ground on fire. Great overall nade. Highly recommend. I think people are still sleeping on it. And also, you can throw like 2 of these at the feet of harvesters and kill harvesters. Their feet are quite weak to this kind of damage that's like pen 4. So highly recommend. The flag, it's a meme. It's a slightly better melee weapon than most melee weapons, but it's a meme. It's just there for RP and stuff like that. Love it or hate it. Sample scanner, really good for early game to have someone on your team running this. Just having 15% more sample gain, because that's essentially what this equates to. It gives you a chance to double the samples when you pick them up. It's just nice to have. I highly recommend. The sample economy is like very easy in the start, but in the late game, you need so many samples, especially commons and rares, that having a 50% gain over the like lifetime of the game will mean that you are completing it quite a bit faster than maybe your teammate that doesn't use it. So I do recommend. I think the Masters of Ceremony is like an absolutely solid warbond to go for. You get a good weapon, good armor, good booster, especially for the early game, because if you're watching this warbond, you're probably starting off the game, so having a sample booster, really nice. Pyrotech grenade, fantastic. Chat actually corrected me. I Freudian slipped and said 5 grenades. You get 6 with the pyrotechnic, which means 6 bug holes, which is really useful. And like that's a lot of ad clear, and just in general, really nice grenade to have. It's honestly almost even an A tier, but I do think there are better warbonds overall. Force of Law. I love this warbond, even though like it's weirdly disliked at times. The pacifier, really good stun power, and it's medium pen. I love using this on predator bugs. The first couple shots stun the predator bug, and then you just aim at their mouth, which is their weak point, and because they're stunned, they're not moving. Really good for stalkers. Highly recommend. Don't really recommend it for bots. It is quite useful for Illuminate because you can stun elevated overseers in place. You know, the jetpack guys, if you shoot them a couple times, they're just stunned in place rather than like dodging all your bullets and stuff like that. The armor, 25% resistance to your chest, which is pretty good. 25% damage to explosive resistance, strong, and then prevents all damage from bleeding. This sucked previously, but then they buffed bleed damage because it was like doing no damage. It actually is really nice now. So when you actually like lose your chest and you see the symbol of your stamina bar, you will be taking no bleed damage, which is really good. Okay, de-escalator. This one is still bugged. All right, it's not doing very much damage in solo play, but it's doing exponentially more damage in multiplayer. It can kill a Bile Titan with like 4 shots to the head, sometimes like 5 if you're kind of missing. You can kill tanks from the front because the arc goes through the like turret of it, and then it like hits the back of the tank, essentially, like the radiator. You can kill a Hulk 2 times if you hit him in the eye. You can kill charges with about 3 shots to the butt. This thing's actually really good. It's got a slow reload, but kind of use it similar to like the Punisher. Just keep reloading it whenever possible. Even if you've only used 3 shots, go for the reload. Good anti-infantry as well. It's got stun power while also being good anti-infantry. Really good ammo economy. You get 20 rounds back when you pick up a yellow brick, which is unheard of for a lot of support weapons. So very strong support weapon. We'll see what they do in the future, but my current rating on it is like very high for almost all the factions. Stun pods, it's just another flavor of the firebomb hell pod. I don't really recommend it. It's not very good. Guard dog, the canine guard dog is like the arc thrower guard dog. It's really good for like the player that kind of goes off by themselves, because if you play too close to your teammates, this thing will zap your teammates and they will get very angry at you. But if you go off by yourself, or at least like maybe you're on the flank 50 meters or so, it's really strong because it's got stun power. It's got heavier pen because it says medium penetrating armor, but arc in general is pen 4. So you can stun a charger with this thing. You can kill a Hulk with this thing. It stuns devastators. It's just overall a very good warbond stratagem, but you definitely want to be playing more away from your teammates. You don't want to be standing next to them, or else you're just going to piss them off. Urchin recently got a buff. It can now stun Bile Titans, which is kind of cool. It'll stagger them back, so every time it pulses, it'll like stagger them so they can't spit at you and stuff like that. Decent upgrade. I'd still prefer to probably bring the Thermite, but better. Honestly, I like the niche. Force of Law is a weird one for me to place. I'm probably going to also put it in B plus tier, because there's like some really highs, but there's also some like lows of like the armor is not particularly my favorite, and the Urchin is like very niche. The Escalator, I don't know how it's going to be balanced in the future when they kind of like address the issue of it doing way more damage versus multiplayer. It's just kind of weird. The Arc Dog is fantastic, but it requires a very particular type of playstyle. So I think it's kind of middle of the road on that one. Control Group is our most recent warbond. The variable is awesome, super fun to use. We got some clips on the channel of me like using the teleport backpack, teleporting through an enemy, turning around and using the all in one shot, like blasting myself backwards, but I one shot the Hulk. The shotgun method which is the second fire mode, is quite good for bugs. It is light pen, but honestly, it does feel really nice. The only downside really that I see is that its ergonomics is pretty low and you can't really modify too much. You can put a lower scope on it to get a little bit better ergonomics, but I do kind of wish it had a little bit better ergonomics. ergonomics, but we'll see. I do like it though. Very fun for taking out like one-shotting, like if an impaler that's tentacles in the ground, shoot at the top of the forehead, one-shots it. It can take out a harvester in one shot if you shoot in the eye. I'm not very good at shooting at it, but some people are better at it. The Adreno Defibrillator is an armor I wouldn't really recommend right now. It's like audio bugged right now. Also, when it procs, because it's basically like a death prevent, you move so slowly and you die so fast. I'm not a huge fan of it. I do like the 50% arc resistance, but it's actually not that high of an arc resistance because arc damage is so high that most things are still going to one-shot you. 2-second stim duration is nice because that's what you get on medic armor, but I don't know. Epoch recently got its aim cone decreased a lot, so it's a lot more accurate. I do like this thing. It's kind of like an in-between of like the railgun meets the Quasar. I do think the Quasar is overall a better support weapon just because it's easier to use and unlimited ammo and you don't have to worry about it killing you and stuff like that. But once you learn the timing with this thing, I've been really enjoying using it. It's very fun. It's definitely a weapon that you're going to need to go into like a level 1 and just like shoot it a bunch to learn how to shoot it better. Learning the timing, learning the bar, learning the sound cues, stuff like that. Nowadays, I only die like maybe once a day on stream. Like after 8 hours of gameplay, I only die like once with it. So it will get better and you'll get the muscle memory, but it'll start off pretty rough. Laser Sentry, it's okay. It's not as good as like the machine gun sentries or like rocket sentry. It's kind of like awkwardly in between where obviously it has higher pen than the machine gun sentries, but then it doesn't have the same anti-tank. It's okay. It needs more fire time, but it's like not a bad choice. It's fun. And they recently fixed the bar so you know exactly how much it's overheating. The Warp Backpack, this is probably the reason why you're going to buy this WARBOND. It's just so much fun and it speeds up doing super credit farming. So honestly, you could just buy it for that too, but you can also bring mechs and just like back it up to the bunker and just get out, loot the stuff, and then get back into the mech. So you don't need this to get into bunkers by yourself, but it does help. The Arc Grenade, solid, good stun, good damage. Just be careful. It can bounce towards you and kill you accidentally, but it's actually a lot better than I originally thought it would be. I do recommend. Control Group, with Epoch getting better and the backpack being so good, it's teetering on S tier. The only reason I don't quite want to put it up there is that I feel like the Epoch is too niche and it's definitely for like a more hardcore player in Helldivers. It's not very easy to use. The Warp Pack, although extremely fun, I do think some players maybe not enjoy it as much as others. So it's definitely niche. It's not like Democratic Detonation where it's like very obvious how good the WARBOND is. It's definitely more niche in that regard. The Arc Grenade, good, but not S tier. And the Variable, although really fun, I don't really see that many people using it. I do think it's really good, but it's like not everybody's cup of tea. I do really like it though. And I think the WARBOND is good, very solid. Borderline Justice is a very fun Western themed WARBOND. Deadeye is one of my more favorite. Just make sure not to empty the magazine when shooting it. You can run into a problem of if you empty the entire magazine, it has an extra bunch of like animations it has to do to like open it up and then load it in before you get to the faster part of the reload. What you should do is only fire the total of 7 and leave 1 round left so you get the faster reload constantly. And similar to like the Punisher, just keep reloading it whenever you have an opportunity to do that. But great weapon. It basically rivals the Diligence Counter Sniper, better ergonomics, but the Counter Sniper has a better fire rate. So give or take on which one you would prefer. Armor, it's okay. It's mostly sidearm oriented. So if you love your sidearm, this is the armor to pick for. You got the Talon. It's kind of like the Verdict, but it's like somewhere in between like a Verdict and a Senator. Obviously, it does more damage than the Verdict, but it has unlimited ammo. So as long as you don't spam it very often, because you'll overheat it and you'll have to use your limited radiators or heat sinks in reserve, it feels really nice. A lot of people really like this thing. Personally, I find it has a little bit too much sway, so I don't tend to use it too often, but some people live by this thing. Dynamite, I'm more disappointed by it. I feel like it should have more boom. I feel like it should maybe be able to blow up a bug nest or like a ball titan nest or like have larger like outer radius and stuff like that. I like it. I think it's fun, but I don't love it. I don't think it's like a bad like grenade by any stretch of the imagination, but I do wish it was better. Hover Pack is very fun for like certain stratagems like Epoch, for instance, or like charge weapons that you don't want to get like swarmed by. You can like go above and then the enemies can't hit you, or you like getting high ground and sniping down at enemies. Really good for that. It definitely gets you thinking differently about the game. You think more verticality oriented, which is really fun. Sample Extractor, similar to the Sample Booster, but this one is whenever you kill like a Charger-esque enemy, a common sample will be dropped on the ground, and to a total of 10 additional you'll underneath bodies. So when you kill a Charger, just check underneath the body. There might be a sample waiting for you. I believe it also counts for like Battle Titans and stuff, but obviously there's going to be more Chargers on average, so just make sure to check for them. You get free samples. I believe they're almost always commons. I've never seen a rare myself, but maybe someone can correct me. Borderline Justice is like a warbond that I like, and I really love the Deadeye, but it's really just like the only part of the warbond that is like a must buy. The other elements are very personal preference. You may really like the Deadeye, you may really like the hover pack, you may really like the armor, but I think overall it's like a middle of the road warbond as far as like how I rank it. It has a nice sample booster, which is great, but I would probably almost recommend grabbing the Master of Ceremony sample booster over it, just because I like that overall warbond a little bit more than the Borderline as far as like playability. Is there anything I'd want to change in this? I do think Polar Patriots still is like an A-, B+. It's like hard for me. Like I almost want to put in a B+, but I just feel like the weapons are so good that it like barely makes it into like A-. The booster obviously being broken does affect it more, but hopefully they can get that addressed by the time you watch it. So yeah, I feel pretty confident with this warbond. I'm sure warbond tier list, I feel like a lot of people will probably like change things depending on preference. Obviously, some people will value the control group way more because they love the war pack, and then some people might like not value urban legends at all because they don't use the armor, right? So personal preference does dictate, and you can make your own value assessment based on like the drip, the usefulness of would you actually use this weapon, because there's going to be certain weapons that you just don't use at all. Like there's people that tell me all the time, Master Ceremony is the worst warbond because it has another DMR. We don't need more DMRs. But it's like, that's my favorite weapon. I love the amendment. So it changes depending on personal preference. So just keep that in mind. But I would say this is like a fairly accurate of like how powerful the warbond is, how much it affects gameplay, and then like it goes down from there. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think. What is your like tier list? In our last video, I looked in the comments and there was just tons of like, this is what I would recommend. Everybody's gonna have something different. So there's something that I'm not valuing enough. Let me know down below. Maybe let people know like, hey, this is what I think about Force of Law. He's undervaluing this. I really like this. Let people know. I don't have the only opinion on this stuff, so share it. All right, consider leaving a like on the video, subscribing, and checking out the live stream. We live stream Helldivers 2 basically every day unless we're playing like Battlefield 6. So yeah, come on by. We stream really early in the morning, NA, but it's like more middle of the day, EU and morning. Come on by. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.